Hey, everybody, welcome. I am going to be sharing some information for you about the argument essay, and we're going to actually take a look at a physical copy of an argument essay sample. I'm going to also include that link or that document, I should say, in the announcement with this video so that you could conceivably use it as a template, very much like the one provided way back in Unit 1 that I keep referring everybody to. And I'm going to remind you of the really important parts of documenting the sources. So, the thing about the argument essay is that you need to take a position on one of the three topics provided, and you need to support that position with not only your own thoughts and interpretations, but using expert opinion that you have gathered through the post university library. So you may notice that I have the screen uh, honed in on the library search tool. And I'm just going to remind you of a couple of important things. I've shown this before in some of the weekly walkthrough videos, but it's a tricky thing, and honestly, it's probably the hardest part of writing for college, and that is proper documentation of your sources. So, I have used the an older topic from the same assignment. In some terms past, one of the argument topics was about jury duty. So instead of running the risk of, basically doing anyone's work for them, I chose one of the older topics because it's still a good example of how to set up an argument essay. It's still going to give you everything you need to know, but it will not basically do your homework for you. So that's one of the reasons why I chose the way that I did. So, if I am going to be researching an argumentative topic, and you really should already have at least two potential sources for this paper, but if I was going to start from scratch and I'm going to do research on an argumentative topic, the first thing I'm going to do is try just to search the main term. In this particular case, we're just going to use jury duty. Now, you notice that several things come up right away. Um, jury duty pros and cons. Jury duty apathy might also be a very good one to use, and jury duty required, because that's the argument. Should we or should we not be required to serve on juries? So I'm just going to stick with jury duty by itself for right now, and I'm going to hit the search button, and it's going to pull up three quarters of a million, three quarters of a million sources. Now, one of the things you may notice on these argumentative topics is that the Post Library has created these research starters, and this is always a good place to begin. But I also want to show you how to look at the sources in general, right? And to pick sources and how to cite those. So the first thing I'm going to do when I have this long list is I'm going to click on the full text limit because I only want to be able to find sources that I can look at in their entirety. If I find a book that the Post Library doesn't actually own in electronic version and I don't have any way to look at it, it's just going to make me upset because it might be the greatest book. It could be the most wonderful source ever in the history of the world, but I would not be able to actually take a look at it. So I'm going to limit it to full text. Now, the other thing I'm going to do, and this is not 100% necessary, but especially depending on the topic, you may want to limit it from publication date as well. So you may notice here over on limiting, it starts at the year 1741, which is probably not a topic or a date that I really need to be looking at. So I'm going to move this up, and I'm going to make this fairly, I'm going to do 1999. Okay, that's still 23 years worth of research. I am now down to under 400,000. I'm still not going to be able to read every single thing on this list. So I'm going to be doing some, let's see what kind of sources I might want to look at. Chances are I don't need to look at news articles because I don't really need to know about articles about trials. So I could limit it to academic journals. I could limit it to magazines. And I could also add ebooks in there. Those are probably the main things that I want to look at. Now that's still not going to limit it very much. I'm under 200, I'm under 300,000, but still above 200. So what I've got is a collection of things that some of which are academic in nature, which is great if especially in your more advanced classes in your particular major. I don't necessarily have to use all academic journals in ENG 110 type things. But I still have, see, here's one that I don't really need, right? I don't want to write about the Johnny Depp trial. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to limit it, and then you can just kind of go through and see what seems to be helpful. Here's an interesting one right away because of the title. I can see that they're going to advocate serving on a jury. So I'm going to click on this one. Now, I didn't use this one in the sample paper, but I'm going to click on this one. And I'm going to be able to read the entire article by clicking on PDF full text. I'm also going to be able to pull a citation by clicking on the Cite button and scrolling to the APA 7th edition. I would highlight this whole thing and copy, Control C to copy, and I would put it in my Word document. Now, I didn't use this one, but I'm going to put this one on my works cited list so that you can see what that then looks like. So let's go over here to my final version of this paper, and let's put it in, and I'm going to automatically go ahead and put it in alphabetical order. So Eason is the last name, EFG. So that one would go before any of the other sources that I have. And I'm going to use paste and I'm going to use match formatting. Now it looks a little bit different when it is in on a PC. I am on a Mac. But I'm also going to change the alphabetical, the the capitalization. There's the word, because I know that I'm an APA. Now, if you forget to do that, it's not a huge deal. I don't do it at all on books, but you'll notice that the articles here, all of the first words are capitalized, and the first word after a colon is capitalized. American is capitalized because it's a proper noun. So that's what APA capitalization looks like. Now, when I use this article in the paper, if I were to use this article, of course, I'm not going to because I've already finished it. But if I were going to use this article, when I cite it, it will be Eason, last name, and then the year, 2007. That's what will go inside my parenthetical citations, my internal in-text citations. So that's what that looks like when you pull things from here. If I were going to use this, I would need to read the article or at least scan the article and look for things that I might want to quote or paraphrase. And then I would put them in and cite them. Okay. So again, I didn't actually use this one. So I'm going to erase this because I don't need it. But I wanted you to look again at what that looks like when you are pulling a citation from the library and putting it into your Word document. All right, so let's go back, let's go up to the top, and I'm going to make this full screen, and I'm going to scroll up to the very top. I have this in page width, so I think you'll be able to see everything. On the cover page, we have, of course, up in the header are the page numbers. We have the title in bold. We have the student's full name. We have the department and the school. We have the course. We have the instructor's full name and then we have the date. Okay. As we scroll down, we'll notice that we have the title again at the top of page 2. And actually, I'm going to fix this right now because it should be in bold. And then we have the essay, right? So I normally do not read essays to you, and I'm not going to read this essay to you necessarily as well, but I do want to point out a few things in every paragraph. So we open with a couple of questions, right? We have an introductory paragraph, we have a couple of questions, and then we have a clear single sentence thesis statement at the end that says, in spite of the potential issues, it is vital to the U.S. justice system that all citizens are ready, willing, and able to perform their civic duty and serve on a jury if called. So clearly, the argument here is that yes, people should be required to serve on juries, right? That's the answer to the question. So then in each of the body paragraphs, I'm going to explore a reason why we should. All right. So each paragraph in the body starts off with usually a topic sentence. In this case, it says perhaps the most important argument in favor of citizens embracing jury duty is right in the title. It is a duty. Okay. So then we launch into our evidence. And I've got a paraphrase piece of information in this sentence. It is not a direct quote. And then in the next two sentences later, I have an actual direct quote. These are both from the source that was on the references page. That's by Whitaker and Newton. And the year is 2016. Sorry. This sentence does not name the authors. So Whitaker and Newton 2016 is all in the in-text parenthetical citation. In this sentence, I've used Whitaker and Newton's names to introduce the quote, and so I only have the 2016. This was also not a printed book that I could get a page number on. We'll have some later that also would have a page number here for that quotation. We show that it's a quote by putting quotation marks around it. I also want you to note that the quote is introduced. It is not just sitting there in a paragraph all by itself. And then I always would have a sentence or more of interpretation or discussion following the source information. I have another piece of paraphrased information that opens the next sentence or the next paragraph. And this is kind of a topic sentence, but it's really a piece of evidence as well. Another point for being willing to serve on a jury is that the U.S. Constitution demands it. That is a topic sentence. It is also something that needs to be cited because it was something that was stated by Whitaker and Nelson. So we have the in-text citation there. While many Americans concentrate on what rights the Constitution grants, it is equally important to recognize the responsibilities that come along with American citizenship. You will notice that nothing between here and here, nothing that I'm highlighting right now, is cited because this is my own thoughts. But you notice nowhere does it say, I think, I feel, I see, I believe, right? Because we are making an argument, we are writing it in third person objective voice. Then we get into some more source material. Kevin Underhill in 2019, in parentheses, satirizes all of the ways that instead Americans try to avoid this important civic duty. And there is a direct quotation there that ends the paragraph. And it's kind of a fun one. So I have more of my own thoughts in the middle, and I have source at the beginning and the end, where the paragraph before was kind of the opposite. I had my own sentence, I had evidence, and then I had my own interpretation. You can vary it. In fact, you should vary it. It shouldn't look the same way every single time. Next paragraph. Another benefit of embracing jury duty rather than trying to avoid it is that participants come away with a much better understanding of the court system. According to Gastill et al., and again, I've used the first person's name. There's multiple names, so we can use et al. If there's two, we have to use both of them, as we'll see in the next paragraph. That source was from 2010. There's no direct quote there, so there's no page number. However, in the next sentence, some even reported gaining a greater sense of political self-confidence as a result. The phrase political self confidence was on page 107 of the Gastel and all source. Okay. Next paragraph, again, we kind of go back to where the source is at the beginning and the end, and the interpretation is in the middle. According to Melsheimer and Smith, this again is not a direct quote. Jury trials can potentially be problematic in terms of how attorneys try to stack juries in their favor. And then I bring in the TV show Bull. I don't cite the show Bull because I'm not using a particular episode of it. I'm just talking about how it's a show about trial science. And then at the end, for instance, when lawyers ask about the length of time of the job, one side is going to gravitate toward people who have a quote lengthy job history with a single company, while the other side seeks those who have quote frequent job changes. Now, again, because that I have the ability to use page numbers because it was a book, it was an ebook, but it was a book, then I have, because I have a direct quote, I have Melsheimer and Smith 2017 pages 8 and 9. We have to have all of that information in that text citation. Then we have a conclusion paragraph, and I do end it with a quote because this kind of sums everything up personally. Perhaps Whitaker and Newton 2016 say it best. And then we have a quote here: jury duty is the foundation for the national legal system that protects the individual freedom, rights, and safety of every American. Jury duty is not merely a civic responsibility, it is a privilege that supports the democratic ideals upon which the American government. Okay. Then on a brand new page, note it's on a brand new page, we have the word references centered and in bold. And then we have our alphabetical list. It is plain double space. There's no extra spaces in between. And we have the hanging indent. Now, if I show this, if I highlight this, you will see up here in the ruler that the bottom part is indented. You want this to be done using the computer. You do not want to try to do this yourself. So if you have the ruler turned on and you forgot to put the indent in, all you have to do is grab that bottom triangle and move it over. You can also do that in the what is it called in PC world? It's called the paragraph menu. On a Mac, we can find that indenting stuff and line spacing options in this drop down menu. But in the PC world, there's a little link down at the corner, and it says paragraph menu. If you need help with that, that's fine. Let me know. Let somebody help you with it. I have not run spell or grammar check or anything on this, which is why there are still some things that are showing as being misspelled. And of course, they're just people's names. But you will want to proofread carefully, go through the sheet that we had in this unit that's with the assignment, the revision guide. Use that, have at least one other person look at it for you, and then you're ready to turn it in. So again, I'm going to give you this document, um, and that way you'll be able to use this as a template in addition to any templates that we have in the class. And I hope this is helpful, and I will look forward to reading all of your fabulous essays coming up.